again, I also like to share with you the introduction of this program. Today is Saturday, December the 11th of 2010. During this hour session from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I'm here to recognize the needs for recovery, to protect those in need of it, and to win back those who haven't been presented this program of recovery and reentry. I consider this an important task, an awesome responsibility, and a profound privilege to conduct this 70 and 70 Extreme Men's Ministry session with regard to step number 4, which is what we're going to be talking about today, men. A 12-step faith-based life skills, which we all got skills, outreach support system that targets at-risk offenders, felons, ex-offenders, and substance abusers. Step 4 of the 70 and 70 Extreme Men's Ministry of Recovery and Reentry Initiative today focuses on the following step, which is step number 4, which is made a searching and fearless. We're going to dig deep. Step 4 is made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. The overarching theme associated with step 4 is focused upon examining our conduct that has influenced our behavior and will quite possibly influence and determine our future behavior, if not our lives. More searching in terms of step 4 has to do with moments of more turpitude and conduct that are considered contrary to the community standards of justice, honesty, and good morals of being fearlessly examined. It includes its effect upon us and our response to it. Those are some issues that we'll talk about. While exploring issues of moral inventory, we'll also examine issues such as survivor skills, the issue of denial, the issue of resentment, issues of fear, and finally that of the shadow associated with us. Such issues of morals and moral turpitude are extensively examined weekly. That supports this grassroots community initiative outreach. And with that being said and the introduction being presented, let's open up our companion book to step number 4. And again, I mean, I always say this, and I don't know, I really believe this, that it's on page, is it 59? 59. It's on 59, man. What I want to say is, in terms of this, is that I need your cooperation. I need you to work with me because, again, everybody contributes on a meaningful level in terms of nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something to make this a real meaningful and a productive and a valuable session. And I don't want to waste my time, and I certainly don't want to waste yours. So here's what we're going to do. In terms of step number 4 of the 12-step program, let's look at page 59. And what we're dealing with is it's not an option. It's a requirement for us to begin to benefit. Again, I always use that word benefit and to be rewarded as a result of where we came from. So here it is. He's not asking us. He's saying this is what we got to do. Made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. And so once we get ourselves together, then you'll see things around you start to change as well. I know for myself personally, there was a time in terms of my recovery or issues that led me to recovery that I used to think people, places, and things were really the problem. Well, actually, when you change, things around you will change. So what it's saying is, in terms of this step, is that we have to fearlessly examine ourselves and our response to situations and circumstances around us and believe that they're going to change. Let's look at the companion passage. It says, "Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord." Now, you know what? I think that's pretty cool, because what it's doing is it's not saying, hey, it's not saying, let us, I'm with you over here, brother. It's not saying, you know what? Let's make a search and fearless more inventory and talk to my guy to the left or talk to my guy to the right. What it's saying is we about to search deep, we about to go deep, we about to find gold in those hills. And there really is gold. And when I say hills, check this out. In the hills and the valleys and situations where we came from, we may have not been ready or prepared or ready to really dig the gold out of the hills and the valleys that we went through in terms of our life experiences. But what I want to say is that as we fearlessly examine, and we really need to man up, men, and really embrace and look seriously at where we came from. And what we do is we return to the Lord. And why do we return to the Lord? Because as I said before, I think I mentioned that to you, and I'm only going to scratch the surface because we pretty much covered most of this already. What I want to say is there's a section in the Bible, and I always refer to the Bible because it's tried, true, and proven that it's the word of God, and that it works if you work it. But here's what it says: you have eyes and you can't see, and ears and you can't hear. Well, now when you start to really examine where you come from, you see it from a different perspective. Why? Because you're seeing it out of a relationship that you have with God. You're able to hear things that you weren't able to hear before. Why? Because you're in a relationship with God. And so what he says is we want to examine it. Somebody told me this one time before, that contempt prior to investigation is ignorance. And a lot of times we had contempt for situations and circumstances, and we really hadn't put ourselves in a position to seriously investigate and examine the work that was in that situation. So what makes the difference between then and now? Now is that we have God as a partner, as a friend, as an intercessor, as a mediator, as an individual that will lead us down the right path, so we can actually get the gold out of those hills and valleys where we actually came from. And this time, the beautiful thing is that we get a second chance to make the best choices, so we can get the most out of where we come from and where we hope to go. Here's the deal. So how do we get the Lord into this situation? It means that we have to sufficiently and adequately and thoroughly, as we did when we were engaging in other criminal-minded activities, substance abuse activity, drug abuse activity. We gave it our all. I mean, we really went into it whole body, mind, and soul, and we weren't walking away until we actually felt as though we had made a major come up. This is the attitude that you're going to have as you enter into this relationship with God. But how do we enter into a relationship with God so we can actually come up in a major way or benefit in a major way? It's essential and imperative that we do a step one and a step two. And so this is why we return to God. Step one says, and I'm trying and go through this as quickly as I can so we can really finish this step up in terms of step four. Step one said, we admitted, that's the admitted aspect, that we were powerless. Of course, we talked about the issue of power last week. The effects, and so what we've done is we've actually examined already, in terms of step one, the effects of where we came from, the effects of being what? Separated from God. And as a result of being separated from God, that our lives were were unmanageable. So what we're trying to do is, having did thoroughly that examination in terms of step number one, and understanding and looked at the wide scope and range of us being separated from God, and actually seriously examining how that separation took place in terms of our immediate circle of influence, whether it was separation from our wives, separation from our kids, separation from our job. There was a litany of things: separated from being free in the home of the land of the free and the brave, because we were locked up or committed to an institution. Whereas we were separated in a multiplicity of ways. The issue is that you be honest with yourself, and now, because our life was unmanageable, because we were separated, we're actually starting to see that we can bring some manageability back to our lives. And I'm going to get on this issue of gold in those hills. We can actually manage the level of hills that we go through. We can actually begin to manage, because now we're in a relationship with God. We can actually begin to manage and navigate through areas of our lives where there are less valleys, where there's less hills, but there's more profit and more benefit from going through the journey that we're pursuing. How does that happen? Because we honestly did the first thing. We admitted that there are some things in our lives that we're on a roller coaster type of relationship, not only with ourselves, but with the whole range of activity that's associated with us and our lifestyle that we live, in terms of substance abuse, in terms of drugs and criminal type activities and relationships. We have to examine it all. Again, we bring manageability back to our lives, and again, we say that the effects, the negative effects, are less now than what they were. That was step number one. Step number two, after we admitted it, we've actually made a major come up. Just being honest and just being willing to re-examine in terms of not being ignorant of what I'm saying, instead of having contempt for where we came from and resentment, which is what we're going to deal with in terms of step number four. Instead of being angry, what we do is what do we come with? We come with having examined step number one. We've actually come into the reality of what we're dealing with and trying to make the best out of the hand that we dealt with. So we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us. Can restore us to what? Sanity. And why do we say sanity? I like that, and I want to jump right on into step number four. Sanity, because to go back to that situation after we have done that, examine those effects, is nothing less than the same. I know a lot of us have heard this To do the same thing and expect a different outcome is definitely insane. A lot of us, when we get out, I don't say, I just touch on basis on this. I know there's several of us that got out of a confining situation where we were obligated to the state, and on many occasions, or we made promises that we didn't keep, like similar to politicians. But anyway, we made promises that, you know what, baby, when I get out this time, you put money on my books, you come and see my mother, you come to see me at least once a month. You handle my business because I wasn't in position to handle my business. And now when I step out these gates, baby, you ain't got to worry about me coming to see me. I'm done with that. I am done with that. But we weren't able to follow up on that promise. We weren't able to keep that promise. We actually meant it. And actually, some of us, in terms of this recovery program, we've also made promises. I'm not going back to a recovery facility. I pretty much have gotten this concept, and I'm not using drugs and alcohol. But the point of it is, in terms of that step number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, for us to keep those type of commitments and those type of promises is essential. And for us not to go back into that same pattern of conduct and behavior, the only way that we're going to be able to do that is that we enter into that relationship with God and trust in Him in terms of bring some more manageability to our lives, having done step 1 and step 2. And step 3, we finally made a decision. And this is what you bring in terms of step number 4, step 1, step 2, step 3. We've actually made a decision. It ain't nobody else made a decision for us. It ain't the probation officer that made a decision for us. It ain't the parole officer that made the decision for us. It's no longer my wife that made the decision for me. It ain't the fact that I want to be back with my kids. These are all benefits, of course, that I made the decision for me. But because I've done a thorough step 1, because I've cashed in and benefited from emotionally, spiritually, and socially from step 1, 2, 3, and now moving on into 4, as we said we make a major come up in terms of step 2, and now we're making a decision. You're in position right now, by the time you get to step number 4, when we actually made the decision, and the decision in terms of step number 3 made a decision to turn our will and lives over to a power greater than ourselves. Of course, we talked about the only power was in, I think it was Romans 13, which was God. When you turn your life around, everybody within your circle of influence, from the closest to the most distance, they also start to benefit. What? You become a better employer. This is what you're looking at in terms of step number 4. This is what you're looking at. You become a better husband. You become a better uncle. You become a better father. You become a more trustworthy, honorable, dependable, reliable individual. And all of those are assets that employers are looking for. But before you even get an employer, before he even trusts you, this is about really cashing in on what you bring to the table by the time you get up to step number 4 and making this searching and fearless more inventory, having made that decision. You're in a position to really start to benefit from. This is why step number 4 is so crucial. You've actually put yourself in position. I used to say this when I was handling my business out there. I say you out of pocket, out of line, and out of order.